Kate Middleton is back to her signature brunette look after a recent blonde hair transformation.
Kate Middleton has done the unthinkable. The world's most watched royal stunned millions with a transformation no one saw coming. At first glance, it seemed like a simple change, but the shock was instant. The reactions explosive. Was this a daring act of personal freedom, a hidden health battle, or a silent message aimed at the monarchy itself? Fans were left breathless, insiders whispered in disbelief, and the palace kept quiet. The question now is what truth hides behind her new image. Kate Middleton's transformation that stopped the nation. When Kate Middleton, the Princess of Wales, stepped back into the public eye after the summer break, she carried with her a transformation that immediately ignited both admiration and controversy. For years, Kate's rich brunette curls had become more than just a hairstyle. They were a signature, a symbol of grace, elegance, and consistency in the royal spotlight. Yet as she appeared alongside Prince William at the Natural History Museum for their first official engagement of the season, the world was greeted with something entirely different. The princess had gone blonde. Not just any blonde, but a soft honey shade that glowed under the light, catching the attention of every person in the room, and, soon after, millions across the globe. Her familiar bouncy curls remained, but now they carried a different energy, lighter, brighter, and undeniably bold. For a figure as carefully scrutinized as Kate, the shift was nothing short of seismic. What may have seemed like a personal choice quickly became a cultural event. Within hours, social media platforms erupted. Tabloids splashed her new look across front pages, and television anchors delivered the news as if it were a national development. The tone was divided. Admirers praised her courage, calling the transformation refreshing, radiant, even revolutionary for a royal who has long embodied tradition. Others, however, were less kind. Some insisted the brunette look had defined her identity, and they felt the new shade dulled her presence. A small but vocal group expressed their dislike in ways that revealed the darker side of online commentary, proving yet again how cruel the court of public opinion can be. Yet behind the frenzy lies a deeper question. Why now? This was not a subtle trim or a quiet refresh. It was a striking departure from what the public had come to expect. Was it a deliberate attempt to redefine her image as the royal family enters a new era? Could it have been a simple desire for change, a personal expression breaking through the rigid walls of expectation? Or might there be an unspoken message tucked away within the golden tones, a signal that her role and her voice are evolving in ways not yet revealed? The symbolism is impossible to ignore. Blonde hair, often linked with reinvention and transformation, seemed to clash with the image of the steady, grounded Duchess-turned-princess the public had known for over a decade. It was as though Kate, in one carefully measured step, had reminded the world that she is not just a figure of tradition, but a woman unafraid of change. Inside the museum, exhibits filled with history and nature surrounded the royal couple. Yet all eyes remained on Kate, not on the artifacts, not even on William, but on the woman whose golden curls had suddenly become the most talked-about topic in Britain. For some, it was nothing more than a hairstyle. For others, it was a statement. But for everyone, it was impossible to look away. But what hidden message lies within Catherine's golden radiance? And could this stunning shift redefine her royal role forever? Stay tuned. The Radiance of Renewal. Catherine's return in golden light. When Catherine, Princess of Wales, returned to public duties alongside Prince William, the world was struck not only by her presence, but by the unmistakable brilliance of her transformation.
Our Royals correspondent Katie Nichol is joining us now. This is the blondest that we have ever seen, Princess Kate. Tell me a little bit about this transformation.
Blonde, soft, honey-toned, and luminous was the word on everyone's lips. The dramatic shift from her long familiar brunette curls to this new golden look instantly fueled conversation, not simply because of its boldness, but because of the meaning people instinctively attached to it. For a woman so often seen as steady, consistent, and measured, This was more than a change in appearance. It was a statement. This time last year, Catherine revealed she had finished her preventative course of chemotherapy, a period that had quietly defined much of her life behind palace walls. That revelation made her return today feel even more powerful. Life, as she once said, can turn in an instant. But here she was, glowing, poised, and radiating a renewed sense of energy. Some wondered if her lighter locks signaled a fresh determination to move forward from those difficult months, reclaiming the confidence and momentum that had been put on pause. With a new house, a new look, and a return to royal engagements, it seemed as though she was stepping deliberately into a brighter chapter. Of course, speculation swirled, as it always does when it comes to her health. Was this transformation a subtle response to ongoing treatment? Was it an attempt to quiet rumors by showing strength most visibly? Yet those who saw her up close were left with little doubt. Catherine appeared healthier and fitter than she had in years. The summer had seen her sailing around the Greek islands, a reminder of her vitality and her love for the outdoors. Now, standing tall before cameras and crowds, she seemed to embody resilience. For many, it was not a cause for concern, but a reason for optimism. At the Natural History Museum Gardens in London, Catherine's golden curls framed her face as she and William greeted schoolchildren. The weather turned, rain falling suddenly and heavily, but Catherine did what she has always done best. She slipped effortlessly into mom mode, shepherding children to safety with warmth and care. The moment was small but telling, a glimpse of her instinctive ability to balance duty with humanity. Her own children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, had quietly returned to school the day before. Traditionally, the public is offered a photograph to mark such milestones, but this year was different. No official image was shared, leaving royal watchers curious. Perhaps, with the children increasingly present at formal events, Catherine and William are choosing to protect their more private moments. Yet the princess still carried them with her symbolically. Around her neck rested a necklace etched with the initials of her 3 children, a discreet but touching tribute that spoke louder than any photograph could. What stood out above all, however, was not simply the hair or the speculation or even the careful balance between public and private. It was the impression Catherine left, stronger, more radiant, and more determined than ever. Her transformation may have been striking on the surface, but its deeper power lay in the sense of renewal it represented. So how did Catherine's radiant transformation ignite whispers of hidden strength, and could this signal a bold new chapter unfolding worldwide? Keep watching. The world stops for Catherine's stunning shift. When Catherine, Princess of Wales, unveiled her striking new blonde look, it wasn't just a change in hairstyle. It was a moment that sent ripples across the globe. Known for her timeless brunette curls, long and full of bounce, Catherine had carried that image like a crown of its own, a symbol of stability in a world that watches her every move. But with one bold step into golden tones, she caught everyone off guard. The transformation wasn't simply noticed, it was dissected, debated, and defended on screens, in print, and across social media feeds worldwide. The shock was so great that even television hosts, journalists, and public figures felt compelled to weigh in. Susanna Reid, a well-known broadcaster, stepped forward to defend the princess against a storm of criticism that accompanied her daring shift. She reminded audiences that Catherine's hair has always been a defining part of her look, long, thick, and undeniably distinctive, and that moving toward a blonde shade was not a departure from elegance, but a refreshing evolution of it. Reid also noted that many commentators were already speculating if the princess should try a shorter cut.
Susanna Reid came to the defense of Kate Middleton's blonde hair on the same day the Princess of Wales seemingly returned to her signature brunette color,
but insisted the blonde tones only highlighted her signature style in a new way. On the same day, Catherine seemed to return subtly toward her familiar brunette roots, sparking yet another wave of commentary. Was this a deliberate balancing act? A way to embrace reinvention while still holding onto tradition? Or was it merely the natural play of lighting and color, magnified by the relentless scrutiny of the public eye? Lorraine Kelly, another prominent television personality, cut through the noise with simple admiration, She declared that Catherine looked absolutely beautiful, dismissing the critics who accused her of relying on hairpieces or extensions.
TV personality Lorraine Kelly also chimed in during the broadcast to push back against critics, declaring, "She looks absolutely beautiful. People have been saying, has she got some hair pieces in? Like, I've got the ones you just clip in, so what?"
The speculation had grown so intense that comparisons to clip-in enhancements, like the ones Kelly herself admitted to using, dominated much of the conversation. But Kelly's words echoed what many quietly felt. Whatever the method, the result was stunning, and Catherine carried it with confidence only she could command. Even beyond the royal stage, the ripple effect of her transformation could be seen. Rita, another presenter, admitted she too had begun experimenting with a blend of blonde and chestnut hues, playfully confessing that while it wasn't directly inspired by Catherine, the princess's look made the choice all the more appealing. For Rita, the lighter tones offered softness, a way to embrace aging gracefully by brightening her features, a reminder of how Catherine's influence extends well beyond palace walls and into the personal choices of women everywhere. What made this shift so shocking wasn't just its boldness, but the way it forced people to see Catherine anew. She has always been admired for her grace and composure, but blonde Catherine carried something different, an edge, a glow, a renewed sense of self. The world may have debated the details, but no one could deny the truth. The transformation was impressive, and it left everyone talking. And did Catherine's radiant new look signal mere style, or a deeper transformation of spirit? The world watched, stunned, and questioned. Stay glued. Catherine's bold statement that left the world reeling. The world barely had time to catch its breath. On September 4th, Catherine, Princess of Wales, stepped out with Prince William at the Natural History Museum in London.
The Princess of Wales sporting a regally blonde new look for her first engagement back at the Natural History Museum.
And what should have been a routine royal engagement instantly turned into one of the most talked about moments of the year. The reason? Her hair. Long associated with her rich brunette curls, iconic, timeless, and adored, Catherine unveiled a striking honey blonde shade. It wasn't subtle, it was daring, it was dramatic, and it left people everywhere stunned. The transformation was more than just a new hairstyle. For years, Catherine's glossy brunette waves symbolized her steadiness in the ever-shifting world of royal life. But blonde Catherine was different. The golden tones, glowing under the lights of the museum, carried an energy of change, a brightness that suggested reinvention. It wasn't only fashion commentators and stylists who noticed, the entire globe seemed to stop and stare. Social media feeds overflowed with commentary. News outlets led with photographs of her new look. Admirers praised her courage, calling her radiant, refreshed, and even revolutionary. Detractors, meanwhile, argued her darker locks carried more elegance, their critiques a reminder of how closely the world watches every detail of her life. And then, just 4 days later, Catherine shocked everyone again. She appeared at the National Federation of Women's Institute event, alongside Prince William. The occasion carried weight. It marked the 3rd anniversary of Queen Elizabeth II's passing, a moment of reflection and respect. Yet as Catherine walked in, the focus returned once again to her hair. The honey blonde that had dominated headlines was gone, replaced by her familiar brunette shade. It was as if she had pressed pause on the golden experiment, reminding the world that her signature look was still very much intact. For many, this back-to-back shift was even more intriguing than the transformation itself. Was the blonde appearance meant to be a bold statement, a fleeting test of change? Or was it a deliberate balance? One public-facing look designed to spark conversation, followed by a reassuring return to the familiar? Whatever the reasoning, the contrast deepened the fascination. The princess had, in a matter of days, managed to command global attention not through a speech, a policy, or a scandal, but through the strands of her own hair. It was impossible to ignore the symbolism. The honey blonde moment had coincided with her re-emergence into official duties after a quiet summer. It was a season that carried echoes of resilience, recovery, and renewal. Now, standing at an event commemorating the late Queen, she returned to the look that had long defined her role in the public eye. The juxtaposition was striking. On one hand, a vision of change and boldness. On the other, a nod to continuity and tradition. The sheer magnitude of the reaction told its own story. Catherine's transformation was not a fleeting headline. It was a reminder of her power to shock, impress, and inspire through choices that might seem ordinary for anyone else, but in her world, become extraordinary. Now, what hidden truth lies behind Princess Catherine's golden crown? And could this daring transformation signal a deeper royal shift? You won't want to miss this part. The debate over Catherine's golden crown. When Catherine, Princess of Wales, revealed her honey blonde transformation, the world responded with an intensity usually reserved for matters of state. The decision to lighten her hair ignited not just admiration, but also wild speculation and heated debate. Was it a wig? Was she concealing grays? Was the change tied to whispers about her health? The theories spread quickly, but closer inspection showed that many of them were nothing more than noise. Observers pointed out that her hair retained the same texture.
Huge changes in her hair in terms of it got a lot thinner, it got a lot thicker, or like the texture changed that much.
The same movement it had when dark, proof enough that it wasn't a wig. At the roots, her natural brunette shade could still be seen growing in, a detail impossible to miss, and further evidence that her transformation was not artificial. The suggestion that she was simply masking grays was equally flimsy. In truth, darker tones often make it easier to cover gray strands, while lighter shades demand more maintenance. And as for her health, Catherine had already confirmed she kept her hair throughout her preventative chemotherapy.
My medical team therefore advised that I should undergo a course of preventative chemotherapy, and I'm now in the early stages of that treatment.
Untouched by the drugs she had endured, this was not a forced change. It was a choice. Still, not everyone was convinced the debut of her new look was flawless. Some felt that the styling of her blonde waves, particularly at the Natural History Museum event where the transformation was first unveiled, was less than flattering. Critics noted a teased section at the back that gave the hair an unusual shape, distracting from her otherwise polished presence. The weight of her long curls, combined with the lighter shade, led some to argue that trimming a few inches might have added freshness and balance. Even admirers admitted that while the color was striking, the way it was presented left room for improvement. Yet, as the criticism mounted, defenders rushed forward. Among the strongest voices was Sam McKnight, the legendary stylist who once worked with Princess Diana. His words were blistering in their defense of Catherine. He called the cruel remarks shocking, horrified, dismayed, and disgusted, condemning the lack of empathy in the way people attacked a young woman who, by virtue of her marriage and position, is compelled to live every detail of her life under the sharpest of spotlights. McKnight reminded the world that a woman's hair is not just vanity, it is armor, a shield, and a source of confidence. To reduce Catherine's bold choice to trivial gossip or cutting ridicule was, in his view, both cruel and unjust. He pointed out how she has quietly and unselfishly represented Britain on the global stage, embodying what he described as the nation's soft power. To attack her for daring to change her hair, especially after the personal health struggles she had already faced, was to miss the point entirely. For Catherine, the blonde transformation was not a gimmick. It was a moment of reinvention, a signal that she could step forward with resilience and determination, even as the world continued to watch and judge. The shockwaves it created were not just about hair, they were about what it symbolized. A princess reminding everyone that even under the heavy weight of centuries-old tradition, she still carries the freedom, the courage, and with an unwavering strength to embrace change and redefine her own royal journey. So what deeper truth hides behind Catherine's golden glow? Rebellion, renewal, or resilience? And could this signal a new royal era? Catherine's golden glow and the shockwave it sent. The moment Catherine, Princess of Wales, stepped into public view with her newly golden hair, the reaction was immediate and electric. What should have been a simple appearance at the Natural History Museum instead became one of the most talked about royal moments of the year. Cameras flashed, headlines rolled in, and within hours, the internet was ablaze. The princess, so often associated with her deep brunette locks, had unveiled a dramatically lighter, honey blonde shade that caught the light with striking warmth. It was more than just a style update. It was a transformation that stunned millions and stirred emotions across the globe. At first glance, it seemed breathtaking. The golden tones framed her face with a softness that radiated health, optimism, and strength. Many admirers praised the effect as almost cinematic, noting how it gave Catherine a new glow, as though she had stepped into a brighter chapter of her life. But the admiration that should have been universal was swiftly drowned out by something much darker. Instead of applause, she found herself swallowed by a tide of cutting remarks, speculation, and judgment. Social media, ruthless in its speed and its sting, became the stage for this storm. Some users insisted her hair was a wig, claiming the color change couldn't be natural. Others dismissed it outright as awful, reducing a bold and personal decision to little more than a punchline. The most painful of all were the cruel whispers tying her transformation to her health, people speculating whether chemotherapy had thinned her hair, forcing her into wigs or extensions. Such remarks, callous and intrusive, ignored both her dignity and her humanity. And yet, in the midst of the noise, the details of her appearance told a different story. Catherine had paired her golden hair with a green blazer, a crisp white blouse, and tailored trousers, an ensemble that carried her signature mix of elegance and practicality. It was a look meant to project confidence and steadiness, but the outfit went almost unnoticed. All attention, supportive or critical, clung to her hair. The reaction laid bare a deeper truth. For women everywhere, hair is rarely just about fashion. It carries meaning, identity, resilience, even power. To have that symbol dissected so mercilessly only underscored the extraordinary pressure Catherine faces as a royal consort living under relentless scrutiny. It was here that her defenders stepped forward, voices of authority pushing back against the cruelty. Sam McKnight, the legendary stylist who once worked with Princess Diana, was among the most outspoken. His condemnation was fierce. He called the attacks evil and accused critics of showing no empathy for a woman who had given so much of herself to public duty. To him, hair was not vanity. It was armor, a shield, a source of confidence. By ridiculing Catherine for something so intimate, he argued, the public was not just criticizing her style, they were attempting to strip away her strength. Other experts within the fashion and beauty world echoed his defense, though with a different lens. Neville Tucker, once a stylist to the royals, described her blonde debut as her boldest transformation yet, even predicting it could ignite new trends across Britain and beyond. Admirers noted how the lighter tones lent her a sun-kissed vitality, a look that spoke of renewal and hope. Body language specialists weighed in too, suggesting that such a dramatic shift was no accident. In their view, Catherine's new look was a message, an outward reflection of inner change. After a year of unimaginable personal challenges, perhaps this golden glow was her way of showing the world she was moving forward with strength. In that sense, her hair was not simply a style choice, but a quiet declaration. She did not explain it, justify it, or respond to the whirlwind of opinions. Instead, she carried it with grace, allowing her presence to speak louder than any words. Her confidence did not roar, it shone, steady and unyielding. And in doing so, Catherine sent a message far stronger than her critics expected. Resilience is not about escaping judgment, but about enduring it and rising above it with poise. The cruel remarks will inevitably fade into the background, as fleeting as the trends they often chase. What will remain is the image of a princess standing in her golden crown of hair, radiant, renewed, and unshaken. A woman who chose transformation not as a mask, but as a mirror of her strength, a signal that she is not only surviving the weight of expectation, but thriving despite it. So, what do you think? Was Princess Catherine's golden transformation a symbol of quiet strength or something far deeper? We'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.